The Day of the Ball Arrived. By Henry Albert Guy de Maupassant. Madame Loisel made a great success. She was prettier than them all, elegant, gracious, smiling, and crazy with joy. All the men looked at her, asked her name, endeavored to be introduced. All the attachés of the cabinet wanted to waltz with her. She was remarked by the minister himself. She danced with intoxication, with passion, made drunk by pleasure, forgetting all, in the triumph of her beauty, in the glory of her success, in a sort of cloud of happiness composed of all this homage, of all this admiration, of all these awakened desires, and of that sense of complete victory which is so sweet to woman's heart. She went away about 4 o'clock in the morning. Her husband had been sleeping since midnight, in a little deserted anteroom, with 3 other gentlemen whose wives were having a very good time. He threw over her shoulders the wraps which he had brought, modest wraps of common life, whose poverty contrasted with the elegance of the ball dress. She felt this, and wanted to escape so as not to be remarked by the other women, who were enveloping themselves in costly furs. Loisel held her back. "Wait a bit. You will catch cold outside. I will go and call a cab." But she did not listen to him, and rapidly descended the stairs. When they were in the street they did not find a carriage, and they began to look for one, shouting after the cabman whom they saw passing by at a distance. They went down toward the Seine, in despair, shivering with cold. At last they found on the quay one of those ancient noctambulant coupes which, exactly as if they were ashamed to show their misery during the day, are never seen round Paris until after nightfall. It took them to their door in the Rue des Martyrs, and once more, sadly, they climbed up homeward. All was ended for her. And as to him, he reflected that he must be at the ministry at 10 o'clock. She removed the wraps, which covered her shoulders, before the glass, so as once more to see herself in all her glory. But suddenly she uttered a cry. She had no longer the necklace around her neck. Her husband, already half undressed, demanded, "What is the matter with you?" She turned madly toward him. I have lost Madame Forstier's necklace." He stood up, distracted. "What? How? Impossible." And they looked in the folds of her dress, in the folds of her cloak, in her pockets, everywhere. They did not find it. He asked, "You're sure you had it on when you left the ball?" "Yes, I felt it in the vestibule of the palace." "But if you had lost it in the street we should have heard it fall." "It must be in the cab." "Yes, probably." "Did you take his number?" "No." "And you? Didn't you notice it?" "No." They looked, thunderstruck, at one another. At last Loisel put on his clothes. "I shall go back on foot," said he, "over the whole route which we have taken, to see if I can't find it." And he went out. She sat waiting on a chair in her ball dress, without strength to go to bed, overwhelmed, without fire, without a thought. Her husband came back about 7 o'clock. He had found nothing. He went to police headquarters, to the newspaper offices, to offer a reward. He went to the cab companies everywhere, in fact, whither he was urged by the least suspicion of hope. She waited all day, in the same condition of mad fear before this terrible calamity. Loisel returned at night with a hollow, pale face. He had discovered nothing. "You must write to your friend," said he, "that you have broken the clasp of a necklace, and that you are having it mended. That will give us time to turn round." She wrote at his dictation. At the end of a week they had lost all hope, and Loisel, who had aged 5 years, declared, "We must consider how to replace that ornament." The next day they took the box which had contained it, and they went to the jeweler whose name was found within. He consulted his books. "It was not I," Madam, who sold that necklace? I must simply have furnished the case. Then they went from jeweler to jeweler, searching for a necklace like the other, consulting their memories, sick both of them with chagrin and with anguish. They found, in a shop at the Palais Royal, a string of diamonds which seemed to them exactly like the one they looked for. It was worth 40,000 francs. They could have it for 36. So they begged the jeweler not to sell it for 3 days yet, and they made a bargain that he should buy it back for 34,000 francs in case they found the other one before the end of February. Loisel possessed 18,000 francs which his father had left him. He would borrow the rest. He did borrow, asking 1,000 francs of one, 500 of another, 5 louis here, 3 louis there. He gave notes, took up ruinous obligations, dealt with usurers, and all the race of lenders. He compromised all the rest of his life, risked his signature without even knowing if he could meet it, and, frightened by the pains yet to come, by the black misery which was about to fall upon him, by the prospect of all the physical privations, and of all the moral tortures which he was to suffer, he went to get the new necklace, putting down upon the merchant's counter 36,000 francs. When Madame Loisel took back the necklace, Madame Forestier said to her, with a chilly manner, "You should have returned it sooner. I might have needed it." She did not open the case, as her friend had so much feared. If she had detected the substitution, what would she have thought? What would she have said? Would she not have taken Madame Loisel for a thief? Madame Loisel now knew the horrible existence of the needy. She took her part, moreover, all on a sudden, with heroism. That dreadful debt must be paid. She would pay it. They dismissed their servant. They changed their lodgings. They rented a garret under the roof. She came to know what heavy housework meant, and the odious cares of the kitchen. She washed the dishes, using her rosy nails on the greasy pots and pans. She washed the dirty linen, the shirts, and the dishcloths, which she dried upon a line. She carried the slops down to the street every morning, and carried up the water, stopping for breath at every landing. And, dressed like a woman of the people, she went to the fruiterer, the grocer, the butcher, her basket on her arm, bargaining, insulted, defending her miserable money sou by sou. Each month they had to meet some notes, renew others, obtain more time. Her husband worked in the evening making a fair copy of some tradesmen's accounts, and late at night he often copied manuscript for 5 sous a page. And this life lasted 10 years. At the end of 10 years they had paid everything, with the rates of usury, and the accumulations of the compound interest. Madame Loisel looked old now. She had become the woman of impoverished households, strong and hard and rough, with frowsy hair, skirts askew, and red hands. She talked loud, while washing the floor with great swishes of water. But sometimes, when her husband was at the office, she sat down near the window, and she thought of that gay evening of long ago, of that ball, where she had been so beautiful and so fated. What would have happened, if she had not lost that necklace? Who knows? Who knows? How life is strange and changeful. How little a thing is needed for us to be lost, or to be saved. But, one Sunday, having gone to take a walk in the Champs-Élysées, to refresh herself from the labors of the week, she suddenly perceived a woman who was leading a child. It was Madame Forestier, still young, still beautiful, still charming. Madame Loisel felt moved. Was she going to speak to her? Yes, certainly. And now that she had paid, she was going to tell her all about it. Why not? She went up. "Good day, Jean." The other, astonished to be familiarly addressed by this plain good wife, did not recognize her at all, and stammered, "But, madam, I do not know, you must have mistaken." "No, I'm Mathilde Loisel." Her friend uttered a cry. "Oh, my poor Mathilde. How you are changed." "Yes, I have had days hard enough, since I have seen you. Days wretched enough, and that because of you." "Of me? How so?" "Do you remember that diamond necklace which you lent me to wear at the ministerial ball?" "Yes." Well, I lost it." "What do you mean?" You brought it back. I brought you back another just like it. And for this, we have been 10 years paying. You can understand that it was not easy for us who had nothing. At last it is ended, and I'm very glad. Madame Forstier had stopped. You say that you bought a necklace of diamonds to replace mine. Yes. You never noticed it, then. They were very like. And she smiled with a joy which was proud and naive at once. Madame Forstier, strongly moved, took her 2 hands. Oh, my poor Mathilde. Why, my necklace was paste. It was worth at most 500 francs.